John Simmermaker's remarkable collection of coverlets began by rescuing his grandmother's.
She was going to burn it. My wife and I objected to that, and she decided, okay, if you want it, and she gave it to us, and that's what started it.
Over the course of decades, the Simmermaker's collection grew from 1 to more than 700. Today, it's one of the largest collections in the country.
I don't think there's a bigger one in Indiana, certainly, and I think many museums don't have that many. And that's my problem today, is what am I going to do with these?
What John and his family decided was to donate a portion of the collection to the Indiana State Museum.
We've acquired 128 of their Indiana examples, and with that donation, we now have an example from every single known Indiana coverlet maker.
In 2024, the museum selected a portion of that donation and staged Woven Together, an exhibit that gave visitors a chance to see more than 30 of the finest examples in person and to answer some common questions, like, what exactly is a coverlet anyway?
Well, a coverlet is a woven textile. These were the most popular bedspreads in the 19th century. Middle-class Hoosiers were definitely the ones that were buying the coverlets. And part of that was that Indiana farmers were experiencing a lot of prosperity at this time. So this was kind of a status symbol. This was something that you would put on your bed to kind of show off to your neighbors, look, we're doing all right.
They were a symbol of economic prosperity, but also of technological progress.
The coverlets that we have on display today, they are Jacquard coverlets. They're figured and fancy. Before the Jacquard mechanism, you'd actually have to have two people operating a loom. You would need a draw boy and then the weaver themselves. So the Jacquard mechanism did exactly that. It mechanized the draw boy essentially using binary code.
This code was stored on Jacquard cards, and the weaver used these to create remarkable patterns.
They look a lot like early computer punch cards, and that's not just a coincidence. Really, the Jacquard mechanism was the great-great-great-grandmother of the modern-day computer.
The masters of these mechanical marvels came to the United States from Europe, largely from Germany and the British Isles.
Once weavers got into Indiana, they kind of spread out. So we have known weavers from a lot of different counties around the state, which is really neat for visitors to come in and try to find which weaver matches up with their county.
That's possible because the coverlets are all signed. Sort of.
Probably the most important part of every single coverlet that you see in our gallery is the corner block. Usually there'll be some sort of motif that represents the weaver, so each weaver has a unique corner block. For example, Samuel Stinger was one of the very prominent weavers in Indiana, and he uses a star in his corner block.
Some feature dates and others the locations where they were manufactured.
And very occasionally, you get the client's name also featured in there, which is really exciting.
Throughout the United States, coverlet production was dominated by men. The lone exception in Indiana was Sarah Larette.
She was actually weaving under her father, John Larette. He passed away, and she took over the business with her brother, Henry. We know from written record that she was a very large woman. She was 6 feet tall, and so folks suspect that that's the reason that she was able to operate the Jacquard loom, because it was very difficult to operate. It took a lot of muscle, and she apparently had it.
Each of the coverlets featured and woven together has a story to tell. The challenge for the museum is getting visitors to stop, look, and listen.
Every exhibit has its own little challenges, but this one, it's getting over that what is it? And offering people hooks, offering them some interaction to say, you know what, here's your way in. If you want personal stories, here's your way in. If you want a technological or a STEM story, here's your way in. If you want to play around and do some manipulatives, here's your way in, and allow people to have those different ways in. And that's what we do for everything. We do it for art exhibits, we do it for science exhibits, and we do it for history exhibits.
One of these unique hands-on elements is a simulated loom made using a flip dot display.
But that was our end, so that was part of the team's end, was that technology aspect, and so we wanted to lean into that because, we're awash in technology today, and, we're at maybe the dawn or near the dawn of AI, and so will we be changing how we talk to machines and how we tell machines? And if that loom experience can have some of that energy, that does exactly what we want it to do.
This is an example of, the best of my collection. It's always nice to see them out hanging full and all the different colors. I mean, when I started, most coverlets you would find would be blue and white because that was the normal thing. As a collector, whenever you found a different color, you always wanted to get that to add to the collection.
I think a lot of folks initially stepped into the gallery thinking that they were going to learn more about quilts and learned about an entirely new subject. I think that it's inspired a lot of young visitors to maybe scratch their head at what is weaving like and thinking about the actual trade and craft of weaving. Our Coverlet collection, before John's donation, gave us a lot of examples, but we really wanted to have this full scope of the state so that it's a very representative collection that can be used for research purposes and to let people really dig into what these textiles meant for the state. And I think that this collection is really going to do that and provide new opportunity for the museum.